Those of you who watch Forgo Narrowboating, of course, will remember in our last feed with Kevin from Country House Gent that Ian threw Kevin a challenge to make a lardy cake.
Kevin, you like cooking with traditional ingredients. Have you ever made a traditional lardy cake?
Lardy cake.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what a lardy cake was. It's sort of, what is it? Made of lard? It is lard, yeah. Right? No, I've never made a lard. No, I made a Guinness cake and spotted Richard to use its new politically correct term.
Can I lay you down a challenge then to make a lardy cake in your next series, please?
Right. Well, I'm off now in a few days and I need to cook something. So, all right then. Yeah, lardy cake.
Well, that brought back so many memories for me because in my childhood days, we used to go camping at Weymouth. And one of the treats of the holiday was to buy a lardy cake and sit on the Weymouth seafront and eat it. And it's been so long since I've had some. Do you know what? I'm going to take up the challenge too. I'm going to make a lardy cake.
Wow!
The first thing we're going to need is to start measuring out the ingredients. So the instructions that I'm using were supplied by Ian. So it's the Wiltshire recipe. And for those of you that want to know where Wiltshire is for our overseas viewers, it's the southwest of England. If you look for Dorset and Somerset, it's just to the right. So the first thing we need to do is to measure out the flour. And according to the recipe, it's 500 grams. Now I've actually got here strong white bread flour from, and according to the packet, there's 1.5 kilograms. So I'm going to use my trusty scales here, and I'm going to have to measure it out. So bear with me. Hopefully they show 0. They do, and we're going to do 500 grams. 400. Gosh. 450. 500, bang on. There we go. We need a 1 7-gram sachet of yeast. Now we bought the yeast. It comes in these 4 packets, but it doesn't actually say how much is in the yeast packet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it out on our trusty scales so that I get the right amount, because it says use 2 sachets for a 1.5 kilogram loaf of a bag of flour. Well, we're not making that much, so I'm ad-libbing here with the contents, but I do have my little scales here, so it would have helped if they were turned on.
They've automatically
turned off, so I'll get another bowl. Right, now we've got our scales working. I'll tip, well that's 6 grams, which means, well that is actually 7 grams. So 1 sachet is 7 grams, so we're set for that. What else do we need? We need 300 ml of water. So I've just poured 300 millimeters in our measuring beaker. So to our 500 grams of flour, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Now we haven't got a big salt cellar, so I'm just going to add 1, 2. As the gourmet chef always says, a bit for luck. Add the yeast, a little sachet of yeast, and mix them up in the bowl. So we'll just stir that round to mix them up, like so. Make a well in the centre. Now, for the ladies that make bread, you probably recognise this next step, but me who's never made bread in my life before, I'm going to try and do this. And every now and again I'm referring to the instructions. So now we add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Here's the olive oil. We've only just checked that we've got this. So 1, 2, You see my hands shaking, can't you? 3. That's not nerves of being on the video. That's how my hands are when, at times. Okay, and then finally we add the 300 grams of water. And stir it all up. Big spoon. Now, ladies, you can tell me in the comments if I'm doing this right or wrong, because I have no idea. And Chris is just leaving me to it because Chris has never done this either, so we really don't know how this is going to work.
You wanted to do it.
But I wanted to do it, so it's down to me. It is getting rather sticky.
I would have done it with a knife, though.
Chris now informs me she would have done it with a knife.
Stirred it with a knife.
So I think I'll go and get a knife. Here's one I prepared earlier.
It's like the kitchen's quite small. Or the galley on a boat, sorry peoples. It's like it's quite small because you can just turn around and you can reach anywhere.
Right. Oh gosh, yes, this is getting very dough-like now, as you can see. Yeah, that's looking good. At some point I know I'm going to have to get my hands sticky in this, but I want to try and get most of the dryness out of it first. So, dough seems a little stiff. Add another 1 to 2 tablespoons of water and mix well. Well, it doesn't feel stiff at all. In fact, it looks really good. I'm quite pleased with that. I think if I add another 2 tablespoons of water to this, it's going to get very gloopy. Right, so now we need a slightly floured surface and tip it out. Now, this is very sticky, so it's going to be quite interesting, this, because I shall get my bread flour. I shall put some on our chopping board that we have bowled here. I don't know how much. I shall just keep it handy. Spread that about. Here goes, folks. Gloopy time. That to me looks a bit gloopy, but hey ho. I dare say when I finish kneading it, that's going to look the business. So here we go.
Put some flour on your hands.
I'll put some flour on my hands. Yes, I know it's a mess, isn't it? Now, I've seen them do this in videos and on the telly, so I'm not quite sure whether I'm doing this right, but it looks very doughish, and I'm just kneading it backwards and forwards, folding it in on itself. I believe that's the way to do it, and then stretch it. I'm not quite sure why it's sticking to my fingers, but I'm guessing that's normal. Perhaps you could tell me, ladies. I'm certainly not going to be a 5-star chef, am I? That's for sure. Although, having said that, this is getting a better consistency. So maybe my kneading is working. I'll just keep doing this. And it says keep doing this until you get a smooth, satin smooth finish. It's not sticking to my fingers now, so that's something. But I would hardly call that satin finish, would you? No. So, do we reckon that's good enough? It's a satin finish, although it's not a smooth satin finish. I have no idea how long I need to knead. This is a conundrum. How long do you need to knead to make sure you've kneaded enough? I'm going to suggest that that's probably okay. I can fold it now. That's starting to look a bit more consistent with what you would expect dough to look like, I would think. So, what do we do now? Tip into a lightly floured work surface knead for around 10 minutes. Well, I've certainly done that. Once the dough is set in smooth, place it in a lightly oiled bowl and cover with cling film. So I don't know if you can see this, but there's the new bowl. I'm just going to tip a little drop of oil in that.
That's it.
Like that, and I'm just going to use a brush and I'm just going to swill it round inside the bowl so that the dough doesn't stick, presumably. Like so. And I'm going to put the dough in it. So we have the dough in the bowl. So we're going to leave this for an hour now to set, or to rise, and then we can start making the lardy cake. So for the moment, I've just made a pound of bread dough, which I could actually make a loaf of bread from, but I'm not going to. Well, an hour's gone by, and it's certainly risen. That's absolutely risen, so that is absolutely brilliant. Well, I'm made up with that. It's actually risen quite nicely, so I'm quite pleased with that. But I'm not going to touch it just yet because we need to get the materials ready, or the rest, the ingredients even. We're not building, are we? We need to get the ingredients ready to actually start making the lardy cake now. Right, first of all, we've got currants and sultanas. Now, the recipe calls for 175 grams. So if I've done my maths right, that's just under 90 grams each. So we'll put the bowl onto the scales and zero it. I'm going to put 90 grams worth of currants to start with. And we're going to put 90 grams of sultanas. That gives us 175 grams. So that's those prepared. Next on the ingredients list is 50 grams of cut mix peel. And I've got this little tub of peel here. So we'll just measure that out. So now I'm just going to tip 50 grams of these in. Which is probably going to be all of this. Excuse fingers. There we go. Well, it's 49, that'll do. So the next thing is we need 175 grams of lard, but the recipe calls to have the lard cut into small half walnut sizes. So that's going to be my next job. So what we need to do now is to roll out the dough. Now this is going to be fun because it's quite sticky and I'm not sure whether it's meant to be. So we'll give it a go. So we'll tip it out. There's our dough. Do-do-do-do. Actually, it's rolling quite well. Now, they say to roll it out to...
Make sure you put flour on that rolling pin.
They say to roll it out to about half a centimetre in thickness, which is going to be quite big. So that's going to be quite interesting. Right. I think that's going to do for a first attempt. So what it says is, put a third, can I have a spoon? Put a third of the ingredients on by scattering them around. I don't know how you can do that with this lemon zest, but I'll just put a few odd pieces in. I shall mix the sultanas up. Shake them on, like so.
If this is edible, it'll be amazing.
I was going to say, thank you for your vote of confidence, Chris. See how she encourages me with my cooking, honestly. And then spread the lard in small walnut-sized pieces.
It's really weird. Yeah, it is when you can't get the lard off the knife and it sticks, but there you go.
Now, as Chris says, this will be amazing if it's edible.
Well.
And don't you laugh, Ian and Gary. I'm not as good a cook as you two.
We'll have to see if they video theirs as well. If they've got to make this is a challenge for them as well.
Yeah, indeed. Now the thing is, can they make it better than us? Or me?
I don't know.
So there we go.
Are we going by what it looks like or what it tastes like?
Oh, what do you reckon, folks? What it looks like or what it tastes like? Just put it in the comments below, please. If it's anything to go on looks, I'm going to lose. So, for those of you that don't know what a lardy cake is, it's actually bread mix
With lard.
With lard. Hence why it's called a lardy cake, and it's very popular down in the south of the UK. So if you go to somewhere like Devon, Cornwall or Wiltshire, they're all neighbouring counties, that's where you'll find lardy cake. And if it's anything like the one that I remember as a child on my school holidays, it's absolutely divine. Okay, so what we now need to do, apparently, if we can unstick it from the thing, is to fold it into 3. So 1, 2, and 3, like that, and then fold it into 3 again, that way, like that. Now, roll it again.
Right. Try and lift it up before we...
And yes, we need to try and unstick it from the board before we do that. So we'll put some more flour. Incidentally, folks, my hands are clean. You can see me putting them in the flour bag. They are clean. I have cleaned them and I've anti-backed them before I started.
It should come less sticky now.
It should come, as Chris says, less sticky now.
Hopefully.
So we have to do this
again.
Only this time, roll it out again.
I'll stay out of the way.
Have you noticed, folks? She's barracking me in the background there, but she's staying well away from the camera.
I am.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like a backseat driver.
Yeah.
Or in this case, a backseat cook.
Yeah.
And then...
It's like folding a bit of paper. How many times can you fold a bit of paper?
Did you know? Here's a piece of useless information for you. Did you know you can only fold a piece of paper 7 times? And it doesn't matter how big that piece of paper is. It could be a mile square. You'll only ever fold it 7 times. There you go. See, I'm a font of useless knowledge, aren't I? I'm going to turn it over this time to roll it out. So here we go.
And then all the currants will fall out.
And then all the currants will fall out, yeah. So this is the last time. It's said to do it 3 times. So this is our 3rd roller. And I've got to say, it is starting to work really well now.
Are there currants in all of it?
There's currants in all of it, which is why you fold it while you're folding it.
Can't see that on the video, I doubt,
But there are, you can see them. Well, 30 minutes later, and as you can see, it's now in the cake tin. It has risen somewhat, which gives me a bit of rise for concern because it's only an 8-inch cake tin and I think it's supposed to go in a 9-inch. But we'll see how it goes. We've just sprinkled a little bit of mixed spice and sugar on the top, just to give it a glazing on the top, so when it cooks it goes brown. So let's pop it in the oven then. So the oven has been on, it's pre-warmed. The temperature is currently at 220. So we're just going to pop the cake into the oven. And we're going to set a timer from Alexa. Alexa, set timer 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
That's it. moment of truth time. Oh man, that looks delish. Oh, I've got to say, from the tin, it looks absolutely delicious. I'm just going to go and get a something to put it on when we take it out the tin. Okay, it's time to remove it from the baking tin now. I'm not sure whether it's stuck, so here goes. Wow.
That looks okay.
That looks absolutely fab.
Huge, that cake.
So I'm just going to slide that over there. I'm going to remove the cut. It looks okay so far. Should we cut it?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
That do.
Here we go, folks.
It's full of air. You flattened it now.
Oh, that's lardy cake. Look at that. That is proper lardy cake.
Yeah.
Well, I'm well impressed with that. It's still a bit too hot to eat at the moment, but chuffed to bits. In case you're wondering, we tried it. It tasted absolutely delicious. Just as I remember lardy cake tasting when I was a school kid.